I'm here in the kitchen with Kendra again today from Cake and Crumbs, and this time she's going to teach us how to make homemade chocolates.
We're going to do a two-toned filled chocolate. The two-tone look is really unique because you put one color down and then you let that harden a little bit, and then we're going to come back and fill the mold in with just another different color. So the one thing I like about this is that you can do whatever colors that you might want to coordinate with a baby shower, a bridal shower, or just, you know, decorations that you have a theme going for your party. This mold here has a little design on it, so that's what we're going to color first. I'm going to put the blue in there, and then we're going to let it harden a little bit, and then we'll come in and fill it with the milk chocolate. Okay. So the first thing I did is I melted up our chocolate wafers. I did them in our melting pot. You can melt your chocolate wafers several different ways. Besides being a melting pot, you could do it over a double boiler if you wanted to, or you can do them in the microwave as well. The only thing you need to be careful with in the microwave is not to scorch it. So put it in a microwave safe container, put it on for 1 to 1.5 minutes at 50% power, and then stir it up when your time is done. If you leave it on high, you're going to end up probably scorching your chocolate. Okay. So I've melted them up in the melting pot, and there's a couple of different ways that you can do this, but the first way that I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little spoon and put just a little bit in the bottom, because with this mold I'm just going to want to fill up that design part right there. When I get it in there, I'm going to tap it so I can get the air bubbles out. Because if you don't get the air bubbles out, what happens when you take it out is you're going to have little holes in there like this. And to make it look the best, you want the air bubbles. And the one nice thing about the clear molds like this is you can take it up there, you can take it up very carefully and just see whether there are any air bubbles in there or not. Now this filled it up almost to the right height that you want just for the design. But if you don't have that much in it, all we want, since we're going to fill it, is a little shell. So you can take a paintbrush, and these are non-shed paintbrushes, which is kind of important. When you're working with food, you don't want the bristles to be stuck in your chocolate or other types of food. And just make sure that you use the non-shed, and also the ones that your kids or grandkids or nieces or nephews have not painted with. They're all that have, you know, your picture on the refrigerator. So you just take your paintbrush, and then you just slowly go up the side to the height that you want. And I'm just trying to get it right to the top of that design. And then before we go ahead and put the next color on, what we'll do is we'll put it in the refrigerator, let it sit for about 5 minutes so that this chocolate is hardened before we put the next layer on it. And what we're going to do is we're just going to create with the chocolate, just create a shell on there for it. And I'll show you how to do that then too. Okay. With this type of a mold though, which doesn't have a fancy bottom on it, but yet we want to do two-toned, and I'll just do the opposite there, is this one's actually a little bit easier because you don't have to be just perfect with your sides because you don't have a design to go off of. So with this one, what I like to do is I'll just take a little spoonful, once again. In this one, I might just take the spoon and push it up to the sides. Or you can take a paintbrush. Just depends on what kind of a design you want and how far up you want to go. For the second part of doing the two-tone, once your first layer has set, and we just put it in the fridge for a little over 5 minutes. Sometimes it may not even take that long, or you can even put it in the refrigerator if you want. You just take your second layer, and you just really want enough to cover the sides, because we're going to fill this with, caramel. So we will have to leave space for the caramel inside there too. So you can take your spoon or you can take your paintbrush, whatever you like to do, and it's easiest. What you want to do is you want to make sure that there is no plastic showing though, because when we put the caramel in there, if the caramel touches the plastic, it'll stick to it, and then they'll have a hard time coming out of the mold. When you're doing your filled chocolates, especially with caramel, one rule of thumb would be if you hold up your mold and you can see light through it, then you want to go ahead and add a little bit more chocolate, because the caramel will stick to the mold then and not plop out of your your mold as easily. So just add a little bit more chocolate on the side. And these don't have to be pretty because we're going to fill the middle of it with caramel and then come back and fill the top of it with the same color of chocolate that we just did the last layer on. All right, we're gonna finish this up by putting the caramel in here. And what I've done is I've melted our Kraft caramel bits. They're just little balls. Instead of getting the little rectangles or the squares that you get all wrapped up in a bag, and it takes forever for you to unwrap.
Yes.
You pop a few in your mouth, and you don't have a full bag left by the time that you're done. We sell little Kraft caramel balls, and they just melt a lot faster, and they're a little bit easier as well. If you only need like 8 ounces, which would be a cup, it's easier to pull out rather than, okay, how many of the rectangles do I need to unwrap and things like that. So what I first did to melt the caramel is I just put it in the microwave in a microwave safe container with some heavy whipping cream and melted it up for about a minute, stirred it, put it on high for about 30 more seconds, and then I put it into my double boiler insert. And the reason I use a double boiler is because this way it can stay the temperature you need, more pliable for a longer period of time than what it would if you just take it out of the microwave. It's going to start to harden right away and you're going to have to keep putting it back into the microwave. Same would go with your chocolate. The reason to use a melting pot or a double boiler is so that the temperature is much more consistent than if you just keep it in a microwave safe container. So what I did for this recipe is I put 1 bag of caramel bits is 16 ounces, which is 2 cups. And that can do approximately, and when I say approximately, it really depends on your mold, approximately 30 to 35 filled chocolates. Just depends on how much chocolate you put in and how big your molds are. So I melted up some of the the caramel bits with some heavy whipping cream. So if you're going to do up a whole pound of the caramel, what you want to do to make it the nice creamy texture is to add 8 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream with your caramel. This way, if you don't add heavy whipping cream, it's going to get hard right away and it's going to be hard in your molds and you don't get the nice creamy texture anyway. So once it's all melted up, then you just take a spoon and just take and plop it in there. You just want to leave enough room at the top so that you can put a layer of chocolate to cover it up. So with this one, we have this color here. We're just going to take the top and cover it all up. All right, so these should be set, and you can kind of tell when the chocolate is set if it's not soft in the middle anymore. And then you just turn it over and plop it right out. Sometimes if they don't come out very easily, if you have to tap it a few times, you can. If you put them in the freezer, they'll come out really easily because they're harder. But if they aren't coming out of your mold very easily, that's an indication as well that the chocolate hasn't set all the way through, and you want to just put them back in the refrigerator for about another 5 or 10 minutes. And that's what they look like when they come out. You did an excellent job of getting them filled in like that too. You can also take your molded chocolate and use foils. We have several different colors of foils as well. And this is another thing that you can color coordinate with your event, whatever you're hosting. And you just wrap it up. And sometimes, now this is a 4x4 foil, and we also have a 3x3, which is a little bit smaller. 3x3 doesn't fit around a lot of these as well, but the 4x4, some of them is almost too big.
Okay.
So you just have to mold the foil around it, and you can put that on your platter with the rest of your chocolates as well.
Perfect.